All right, today is Monday, December 13th, 2021. I'm going to take a look at the price action this morning on the NASDAQ as well as the Russell, utilizing the AbleTrend guidance charts, as you can see displayed here. So zoomed out on all of the time frames and markets, you see a lot of red, obviously. So we definitely were overall in a downtrend today, or at least for the first half of the day. Russell trending down nicely here, Nasdaq here, S&P here, and here are some longer or larger time frames for the Nasdaq and the Russell respectively. So let's zoom in real quick and see what the price action, the signals look like on the Nasdaq this morning, and then we'll jump over to the Russell. So right at market open right here, this bar, we are already in a sell signal. As you can see, we're in a nice sell signal leading up to market open. Would have been a good one to be in, but I just don't trade prior to market open, and then through market open. It would be a very risky trade to be in. Being in a trade as the market opens, you just never know what might happen at that 6:30 a.m. West Coast time open. So first, anyways, got a nice little sell, and then kind of came back up and tested resistance, came back down, back up, tested 1 minute resistance, got up and tested the 2 minute resistance as well. With the green oscillator, or sorry, with the blue oscillator down here, kind of signaling more of an uptrend. We sat on our hands until it gave us a sell right here at this bar, about 288, 16,288. Don't love being so far away from the resistance. 1 minute was resistance. Don't love that, but signal's a signal. Decided to take it anyways. I think I was trading the micros. I had about a 20-point stop. So I was in at 288. My stop was up here at 08. So, it came relatively close to my stop before continuing downwards nicely. And since I was, kind of hopping in mid-trend, a little bit further than I'd like to be from the resistance dots, you kind of view that as kind of a moving average, if you will. Price typically, when it gets overextended beneath those dots, wants to retrace back to those dots. And so taking all that into account, I locked in when I got a 1-to-1 risk reward. So I locked in 20 points given that my stop was 20 points. So I just locked in 20, came back and stopped me out at that 268. So that was a good little, trade, but just, good to understand the context around a trade like that, and put some additional thought into, one, you're taking some additional risk being kind of mid-trend here. And then, I didn't lock in just a quick 5 points. I wanted to, if I'm going to risk 20, I want to make 20. And over the long run, taking trades like that and waiting for that 1-to-1 versus, taking 5 points. Maybe you take 5 points for two trades, but then that next trade is a 20-point stop out. You're losing in the long run, given doing something like that. So, anyways, a side note there. Came back up, tested 1 minute resistance. After doing this test, I sat on my hands and decided not to mess around with any of this. I wanted to see a buy signal, real good retracement before coming back down. That's exactly what we got right here at 7:21. We got that buy signal, went up almost. Yeah, I guess you could say that we tested the 2-minute resistance before just bouncing, just bouncing right off that. Look at that, just rejection from that level coming right down into a sell signal. We would have been in around 242 and a half. This is the thing with the NASDAQ is you get this often where, say we're in at 242 and a half. This bar right here almost went against you 20 points. Again, I have that 20-point stop loss. And so I thought I was just going to get stopped out on that first bar right there. Thankfully, 20 points was a good stop loss to have. I went for a 2-to-1 risk to reward on this one, or one reward to risk, however you want to look at it. But I was looking to make 40 points on this trade. And I'm trying to think more like that going forward, and especially at least this week. Just if I'm going to risk 20, I want to make 20 at least, or 40, or 60, whatever it might be. But you want to secure that 1-to-1, 2-to-1 kind of risk to reward ratio. But I guess it's kind of a reward to risk when you say 2-to-1. Anyways, sidetracking there, but that's the thing. This is the thing about the Nasdaq is you can have this clean sell signal. You came up, tested resistance, came back down with a 1-minute sell, but you gotta let it breathe a good amount because this, if you're working with like typically maybe like a 15-point stop loss, you're gonna be stopped out on that before it continues downwards. So that's the thing with Nasdaq. That's why I'm interested in looking at the Russell and maybe trading more of the Russell. Kind of going forward. So anyways, say we're in at 242.5. We got down here to a low of about 84 or so. Like I said, I locked in 40 points. So once we got down into that 02 range, I think it was, yeah, right here on this bar, we kind of dropped down. I put in a stop loss right around here. Was open to continue to run. I think I had a profit target, additional kind of limit order out there, maybe at 50 points. So I kind of I made a little bracket, 10-point bracket to either secure 40 or get 50 if it continued to drop. A little bit of retracement, and I locked in the 40 points and was out right there. Then I just sat on my hands for the rest of the day. Actually, I didn't take any additional trades. But we did get, pardon me, another sell signal right here. And I was just lucky to not be in this one because I certainly would have been stopped out. We would have been short at let's call it 184.5. Came all the way back to 214.5. So that's 30 points going against you before continuing downwards in the direction that you wanted to go. And so that's, like I said, that's the Nasdaq. You get some of these good clean sell signals, but then it's going to come back against you quite a bit. And having your stop. AbleTrend gets it right. Period. AbleTrend gets it right, but it's the human element and taking real risk. You're in at, let's say, 185. You're not going to put a stop up here at 221.5. That's a lot of risk. That's what, 35, 36.5 or so points of risk. That's a big risk to take. That's $700 and change or so that you'd be risking. So you're just not going to do that. And so that's why the Nasdaq can be a little finicky sometimes with how you get into a trade and it wants to kind of go against you pretty quickly. So that trade worked out just fine. I wasn't in it, but it is what it is. Anyways, I'm kind of rambling here. So let's jump over to the Russell over here. Actually, I'll just go ahead and go full screen on the Russell. So right at market open here, we are also on a sell signal downtrend. At market open, we went up and tested 2, 3, obviously 1, 2, and 3 minute resistance. All three of the time frames that are on this chart came back down with a nice red bar right there. I put in the oscillator after the fact, but if you don't have that oscillator, that's a clean sweet spot right there. So let's say we're in at 2201. This thing goes against you up to, let's call it 2204. So a solid 3 points against you before continuing to the downside. And then it kind of fell out of bed a little bit right here. Got to a low of 2191 maybe and a half. So that's a nice almost 10 points right out of the gate. Comes back pretty quickly, but before continuing downwards. That's one thing that the Russell does is if you get some of these long extended bars or this downtrend and you start to see it reverses in a hurry. You can see it right here, kind of did it right here, but right here as well, where we're just kind of trudging along downside, big extension down, and then quick reverse right back up. So that's something to note on the Russell, just kind of watching and keep my eye on it. I've noticed it likes to do that. So that was the first trade of the day, 2201. Perhaps you were out, you had plenty of opportunity to take a lot of profit on that if you wanted to. But if you're trading the signals, true green bar exit right there, maybe you were out at, let's say 2196. That's 5 points, but you had a lot more opportunity there. But two additional clean signals for this morning was this one right here at 21. Let's call it 87 even. Went against you to 2190. So another 3 points to get you before continuing the downside. And then kind of a pretty quick reversal back up. That one was not a great little trend, but this one was ideal. Would have been in at 2181 and a half. And this thing just kind of went all the way down to 2165 and change. A couple of green bars in there that might have gotten you out a little earlier. But yeah, that was a nice little trend. So Russell's a good market to keep your eye on. If you use the AbleTrend charts, you get some clean trends like this. You don't have some of that whiplashy action that the Nasdaq has. So we'll go ahead and stop there. Rambled on quite a bit on this video, more than I would like. But that was the price action on both the Russell and the Nasdaq for the morning of December 13th, 2021.